without scruple. Was he not known as a gambling companion to the king, the lecher, and as a friend to Arthur Bob's-your-uncle Balfour, nepotist necromancer and leader of the house? All politicians were damned, and Dilberne was the worst of all politicians, a full-blooded Tory, more concerned with the welfare of his war horses than relieving the miseries of the troops. As near as, damn it, a papist, who had permitted his only son to marry a Roman Catholic girl from Chicago, who would no doubt breed like a rabbit and remove Edwin still further from any hope of inheritance. A man married to a wife better fitted to be a pillar of salt out of Sodom and Gomorrah than the social butterfly she was, Isobel, Countess of Dilberne. "But," said Adela, "I have heard too many buts from you, girl," said Edwin. "Don't interrupt me." "Yes, father," said Adela. She was a pretty, if underfed girl of 16, with large blue eyes and a pale, angelic face, and when her hair was not in tight plaits, as her mother insisted upon, it rippled in thick, clumpy, blonde-red Botticelli waves to her waist. She was doing her best not to answer her father back, but it was difficult, though no doubt good practice for her future life of humility, devotion, and obedience. The convent of the Little Sisters of Bethany, where her parents had entered her as a novitiate, she comforted herself, at least kept a good table. On the 21st of May, her 17th birthday, she would be off. She couldn't wait. Adela willed her father to pick up his spoon, and his hand trembled, and she thought he would, but he had another thought and put it down again. Adela took a breath of despair and hunger mixed, and a button burst off her bodice. Fortunately, no one noticed, and she was able to push the button under the edge of her plate. She would ask Ivy to sew it on later. It was a horrid dress, anyway, dark brown and no trimmings and too tight around her chest. Actually, Elise had noticed, but said nothing so as not to draw Edwin's attention to his daughter's bosom. Time passed, but brought its embarrassments with it. Ivy the maid suggested from time to time that new dresses should be bought now that all possible seams had been let out, but new clothes were an extravagance when half the world was in rags. It was Elise's conviction that if Adela ate less, she would grow less. Once it had been a love match, a chance meeting on a cross-channel steamer in a storm between an Austrian princess and the fourth son of an Earl, both dedicated to the service of God. The flesh had won over the spirit, the Anglican over the Catholic. They had married impetuously, and neither had ever quite forgiven themselves or each other. The proof of their spiritual weakness was the 16-year-old Adela. And now she was growing fast, for all her mother could stop it, and worse, turning into a veritable vehicle of concupiscence. It was all her husband, all that any man could do, and he was the most saintly of men, to keep his eyes away from her changing body. The sooner the girl could be packed off to the Sisters of Bethany, the better. "Better stay home and pray for the salvation of our new monarch's soul," said the rector, finding breath, "than be part of the vulgar display of ostentation and wealth. A double coronation. There is no need for it. She is the man's wife, but he must have her crowned, too. Queen consort, a royal gift, much like the bunch of flowers any errant husband brings home to his wife when his conscience is assaulted by his misdeeds." In January, Bertie, Prince of Wales, had ascended to the throne on the death of his mother, Queen Victoria. Her reign had lasted 63 years. The shock to the country was great, the more so since it now had Bertie, seen by some as a voluptuary, a drunkard and a gambler, by others as a genial if hot-headed fellow, as Edward VII. The new queen, Alexandra, for 43 years Princess of Wales, was seen as an angel of docile and loving disposition, though shocked some few by including her husband's mistresses amongst her friends. "The whited sepulchre, which is the queen consort's bosom," Edwin declared with some passion, "will indubitably glitter with diamonds, but they will be stained by sin and depravity. The king has no shame. He will even flaunt his mistresses in our sacred abbey."